Hey, welcome to another Coffee and HEMA episode with me, Jamie McKeever. I've come to a bit of an end, rather a pause in my tournament season. Probably going to be about 6 months before I do another tournament. And to keep the excitement in my head, I'm going to do a bit of a run on tournaments, like as a competitor, right? Some things to think about as a competitor for a tournament. New location, I've got shiny new bookshelves showing off my wonderful HEMA books behind me. We'll see if I keep going here, but I'm very pleased with it. Anyway, today's video, what I want to talk about is nerves. And this is based upon a couple of conversations I've had over the last kind of few tournaments I've been at, and some even from years back, which is essentially a few years back, someone asked me, Jamie, does this feeling of nerves before the tournament ever go away? And I told them no. Now, at this point, I think I've got about 650 recorded fights on HEMA ratings. I think I've probably got at least 100, maybe 150 fights that have never gone into HEMA ratings. So about 800 tournament fights, which is why he was asking me. You know, I've done quite a few over the years. And no matter how many tournaments I do, I will always feel nervous before going into a pool. And I know for a fact this isn't just me, because I've had this conversation with pretty much all of the top fencers in the UK, and across different weapons, longsword, side sword and buckler, all this kind of stuff. And pretty much everyone says the same thing, that no, actually, yes, the nerves don't really reduce at all, no matter how many tournaments you do. Some people never experience that, and I'm going to come back to it. And for some people, that's really uncomfortable. They're like, but I don't like the nerves, right? No, this is bad. And the first thing I want to tell you is, don't worry about it. In fact, you don't want it to go away, right? And it does occasionally for some people. Again, I'll come back to that. But the reason why you're feeling nervous, and for me, that you can feel it in my body. I will need to go to the toilet a lot before pools start. I definitely feel like I'm ready to go. And also that there's nerves building up. The reason for that is that's your body preparing to dump adrenaline on you. Right, and that feeling you're getting there is exactly that. It's your body saying, okay, like something's going to happen. We're going to need to move pretty fast. Get ready. Adrenaline comes out. Now, for me, and this is not true for everybody, but for me, the nerves tend to go as soon as I'm fencing. Right, as soon as I've started fencing, and swords are flying, that's for me when the nerves disappear. Others it takes longer, or others they last for the whole tournament. There's no one size fits all, one single story here. But because at that point it's no longer the preparation for dumping adrenaline, but I'm now full of adrenaline. And even when there's a lull, say, after the pools, before the limbs or something like that, still the body is now kind of used to that adrenaline that's coming through. But you don't really want to get rid of it. You do want to manage it though. Right, and that's kind of important. And how you manage it is going to be a very personal thing. People have very different things that will help them manage these nerves. It's not necessarily about calming them, because of course you do want the adrenaline, but accepting that they're there and finding what you need to do it. I make sure I am very hydrated beforehand, because otherwise the fact that I keep going to the toilet, even when I need to, will mean that I will be dehydrated later on in the tournament. But also I find music is a good way that a lot of people use, and I use to combat this. Some people use music to pump them up and kind of ride into that. I actually use relatively chill music to calm me down, not like, music or like easy listening, but things that are not very, very kind of heavy, that will get me kind of in a flow, and I'll sometimes warm up to those. But I want things that are not going to try and make me peak before I'm fencing. I want to try to make sure that I'm kind of maintaining that and kind of taking my mind off the nerves, doing some kind of warm-up activity, and keeping it so I'm not kind of getting into adrenaline dump mode before the tournament starts. Others, a warm-up match is another good one that a lot of people use. Like I said, for me, when swords first start going, that's when I stop feeling nervous. So a warm-up match can be one way of kind of solving that. You have that first match before the actual tournament, and that kind of calms your nerves by meaning the adrenaline has finally hit. Other things I know, just general warm-up exercises, any kind of exercise will help do that, because again, it's getting your body actually doing things. It's normally the weighting that's causing the issue. And a lot of people have kind of rituals, and there's this long-standing kind of, not tradition, but like old wives' tale of sports people being very superstitious, and I think it's true. People have their lucky socks, or people do some kind of ritual beforehand. I think a lot of that is the same phenomena, just writ large in lots of different sports, of helping you distract yourself from the unpleasant aspects of this building adrenaline by using a ritual or something like that to kind of calm you down a little bit and kind of get you ready. But normally, once you are going, those nerves will go. Now, like I say, the more you do, the more fencing you do, this isn't going to go away, but you might have better strategies for dealing with your own aspects of nerves. And I'm sure there are others I haven't thought of that you can kind of look up. But not everybody experiences this, right? And particularly, I think the danger zone for this, and this is something to watch out for, is that people tend to start experiencing it when they start to get expectations about how they're going to do. It's funny that I think most people are less nervous about their first tournament than their fifth tournament. I certainly was. And for my first couple of tournaments, I went into with literally no expectation of doing well. And I wasn't particularly nervous about it. I just thought, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get my shit beaten out of me. Not, actually, but like, in terms of points, it'll be fun, it'll be great. And there's loads of people who are like that, and they have no expectations either early on, or just because, they enjoy fencing and enjoy tournaments, but don't necessarily, win a lot, and they still keep going, and they don't necessarily have the same kind of nervous reaction to it. So the higher expectations, the more likely it's to be getting this. And I think that's one of the reasons why it never goes away, right? That, when you are 100 tournaments in, 1,000 tournaments in, you have a higher expectation of yourself. And so, even though you've done it more times, you are more likely to care about the result, as it were. I don't know some people where it's gone away because they've done enough and they've won enough and they feel like, whatever, I'm just going in for the fun of it. That's relatively rare. Maybe they are better people than me in terms of no longer caring about shiny results. I still care. But I think probably that also means that they're probably not going to do as well in the tournament as they would have done if they still cared about the result. So it's not necessarily something you want to aim for, even if it does kind of happen to you. And as I said, the real danger zone is when you first start getting them. And especially if you have those high expectations of yourself, so you get the nerves, you go in and you don't reach your expectations, because then, as well as the nerves at the start, the adrenaline there, and you'll probably crash at the end, both an adrenaline crash and kind of a hype crash, because you're angry at the end because it didn't go the way that you wanted to for reasons of your fencing or judge or opponents or whatever it happens to be. So don't be afraid of having them. Do be conscious of them. Do find ways to manage them in terms of distracting yourself from them, or starting the adrenaline dump early by fencing, by training, or something like that. And be aware of yourself afterwards. This is much harder to do, and you will likely be more emotional at the end of a tournament because of all of the hormones, the adrenaline, all this kind of stuff that's been dumped on you. And then kind of taken away, and all this kind of stress things that go with it. So if you do have strong emotional reactions post-tournament, maybe think about whether there's something you need to do after those strong emotions have gone away. Apologize to someone, or have a chat with someone to feel better about it, or anything like that. Because they will stick in people's minds, unfortunately, especially if they're kind of negative outbursts. And a lot of the time, they're not necessarily warranted or as warranted as reactions might do. So, above all else, be kind to yourself about all of these things. Bodies do weird shit. You're not in control of a lot of it. And don't feel that you're weak for feeling nervous. Don't feel that you're uncontrolled for feeling emotional after a tournament. That's just how bodies work, right? And it's life. Thanks for watching. And as usual, if you like this video, or if you want to ask a particular question, or just want to say thank you for the Coffee HEMA series, please consider making a donation to historical fencing research on the Coffee platform. The link is below. Thanks for watching.